There was a handwritten note folded inside her heel, not taped under it, not hidden in a purse. Inside her actual high heel, tucked beneath the insole like a secret she wanted to carry with her all night. I found it while helping her pack for the company gala. Her foot had been bothering her lately. "Maybe I stepped on glass," she said casually. She asked me to check if something was stuck in the shoe. I pulled the insole back, and there it was, a crumpled, sweat-warmed, lipstick-smudged note. "Tonight will be hard. Pretend for now. After that, we disappear." No signature. No name. Just those 9 words. That note lived in my head for the next 36 hours. I didn't ask. I didn't even blink. I told her I'd grab her flats from the hallway closet. She smiled and called me her lifesaver. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because she still thought I was saving anything. I memorized the handwriting. It wasn't hers. The letters were loopy and dramatic. A man's writing trying to be poetic. Whoever he was planning something with my wife. Something final. Pretend for now. That's what I did. I shaved. I wore the navy suit she picked out last Christmas. I matched her earrings to her clutch. I kissed her cheek when the Uber arrived and told her she looked incredible. I didn't say a word about the note. Why? Because I wanted to watch her lie. We arrived at the gala early, like always. She liked to show up before everyone else, so she could be the face people walked into. I always hated that. It felt fake. But tonight, I was grateful for it. I needed time. Space. A room full of suits and speeches and string quartets makes for excellent camouflage. She introduced me to someone named Vernon. Or Verson. Or Vincent. I wasn't listening. I watched her eyes instead. They kept scanning the room. Not searching. Waiting. Her phone buzzed once. She didn't check it. Then it buzzed again, and that time, she walked off. Said she had to check on the silent auction. Right. I followed her. Not directly. I gave her a head start. Then I slipped through the museum's side hall and watched her from behind a sculpture of a headless marble horse. She moved like she'd rehearsed it. Down the stairs, through the side lounge, and into a restricted area labeled staff only. That's when I saw him. He was already inside. Tall, dark gray blazer. Smiling like he owned her. She wrapped her arms around him, and he pulled her in like they were the only 2 people in the galaxy. I saw her press her lips to his neck. Then she whispered something in his ear and laughed. I left. Not the building. Not yet. I needed a finale. I went back upstairs. Grabbed 2 glasses of champagne. I smiled. I mingled. I even took a picture with one of her co-workers. She didn't know I'd returned. That was the point. When she came back 20 minutes later, cheeks flushed, I was exactly where she left me. And when the keynote speaker took the stage, she reached for my hand under the table, finally remembering to include me in the performance. I leaned in. I smiled. And I whispered in her ear. Not anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there next to her in bed, eyes locked on the ceiling, her perfume still faintly lingering in the air like some kind of joke. She passed out quickly, as if guilt had an off switch. As if you could kiss another man, whisper in his ear, and then come home and sleep like nothing ever happened. I didn't move. I didn't breathe too loud. I didn't want to wake her, not because I cared, but because I needed to be alone with the image. Her arms around him. The smirk. The deliberate walk to the back room. The quiet way she came back and reached for me like I was a jacket she left on a chair. The way her grip loosened the second I whispered, not anymore. She didn't even ask me what I meant. She just smiled awkwardly and turned back toward the stage, pretending not to notice how my chair had slightly shifted away from hers. I replayed the whole thing like a film I hated but couldn't stop watching. Every time I blinked, I saw the way her fingers pressed against his back. I imagined what they said in that locked room. How long had they been doing this? Weeks? Months? Years? I remembered that night last December when she came home, too tired to talk, and fell asleep in full makeup. She never did that. I remembered the canceled trip to my parents' anniversary dinner, how she claimed to be sick but posted a throwback selfie with perfect eyeliner. I remembered all the little things, the ones you dismiss because you don't want the truth. I remembered when she stopped humming in the kitchen, when she stopped asking me to read over her presentations, when she stopped asking me anything at all. I got out of bed at 3:27 a.m. and stood in the kitchen barefoot. I didn't turn the light on. I just leaned on the counter, the cold tile numbing my feet, and I stared at the fridge. The same fridge where I found the note. The fridge where she hides leftover tiramisu behind my almond milk because I never finish it anyway. God, I hated her. And I hated myself more for still loving the ghost of her. I thought about confronting her then and there, waking her up, putting the shoe on the bed and asking, "So what do we do now, Amara?" But that would give her power. That would give her room to cry, to twist, to perform. No, I'd already played the fool too long. I wasn't giving her a script to rewrite the story. I was going to make her live in the version I directed. The next morning, she acted like everything was normal. She made toast, called me babe, even packed my lunch, turkey sandwich, extra mustard, the way I like it. I took it, smiled, said thanks. Later, I threw it away in the gas station dumpster on the way to work. I didn't want it. I didn't want anything she touched. At work, I sat in my car for 20 minutes before going inside. I kept staring at my phone, thumb hovering over the gallery app. The photo I'd snapped of her hugging him in the lounge was there. Blurry, grainy, but damning. I wanted to send it to someone, maybe her boss, maybe his wife, if I could track her down. But I didn't. Not yet. Because I still didn't know how far it went. And if I was going to burn everything down, I wanted to be holding all the matches. The irony is, she never used to be busy. Before all this, before the smiling texts she typed when she thought I wasn't looking, she used to complain about how quiet her work was. Now she was too busy to come to bed, too busy to answer my calls, too busy to explain why she had 3 new silk blouses when we hadn't done joint shopping in 6 months. Busy. That word was her favorite camouflage, so I tested it. The following Thursday, I drove to her office. Not to confront her. Not yet. I just wanted to see. I told my manager I had a dentist appointment. I parked in the corner of the lot and waited in the car, engine off, windows cracked. I watched employees come and go. I even saw her reflection in the glass lobby, walking fast in heels she once said weren't made for mortals. She looked alert, nervous, maybe excited. She was holding her phone like it was telling her the future. Her eyes darted down to it every few steps. I watched her pace the sidewalk, clearly waiting for someone. Then a car pulled up. It was him. Desmond. I knew it was him the second I saw that smug lean-back posture in the driver's seat. He didn't even bother parking. Just paused long enough for her to climb in before he peeled off like this was routine. She didn't even check her surroundings. No guilt. No hesitation. I didn't follow them. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too hard to drive. Instead, I walked into her office building. The front desk receptionist recognized me. We'd been to a company holiday dinner once. She smiled and asked if I was there to surprise Amara. I said yes. "Oh, she left for her budget meeting offsite like half an hour ago," she said casually, like she was reading the weather report. I nodded, thanked her, walked to the restroom, locked myself in a stall, and threw up. Not from shock. From confirmation. There's something uniquely awful about catching someone in a lie you already knew was real. It's like watching a movie spoiler unfold in slow motion. No surprise left, just dread. When I got home that night, Amara was already there. Hair brushed, legs crossed on the couch. She asked if I wanted takeout, Thai, or Italian. I told her I wasn't hungry. She didn't press it. Just went back to scrolling her phone, smiling every few seconds at something she never showed me. Around 11 p.m., while she was in the shower, I walked into her home office. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, but her bag was open, unzipped. I reached in, half expecting to find nothing. Instead, I found a pair of earrings. Not hers. A different style, more expensive. Still tagged. A jewelry store gift bag tucked neatly beneath her files. There was a receipt inside. To A, from D. 7 days. That's all it said. No date. No explanation. Just 7 days. What the hell did 7 days mean? 7 days until what? Until she left? Until she told me? Until they flew off to some island with no forwarding address. I took the receipt and left the earrings. That night, I didn't lay awake. I didn't cry. I didn't even think. I just opened a blank Google Doc and typed out a list. 1. Gala, first move. 2. Office lie. 3. Gift from D. 4. Countdown, 7 days. 5. Silent camera install. 6. Find Desmond's wife. I didn't know what the end game was. I didn't care. But if she wanted to play this like a performance, I was ready to write the script. The next day, I sent her lilies. She hates lilies. She says they remind her of funerals, that they smell like something that's pretending to be alive. The first time she told me that, we were only dating. She'd knocked over a vase at her cousin's wedding reception and said the whole table smelled like a dying promise. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was one of the first things she said that felt real. So yeah, I sent lilies. A huge arrangement. No card. I wanted to see how she'd explain them. She didn't mention them when she came home. Not one word. Not even a hint of confusion. Which meant only one thing. She assumed they were from him. That, or she didn't want to give me the satisfaction of asking. Either way, it told me something important. They were talking daily. Coordinating. Covering their tracks. Building a version of reality where I didn't matter. Where I was the ghost in the background of her real life. So I became the ghost on purpose. For the next 3 days, I didn't question anything she said. I didn't probe when she said she was late from meetings. I didn't ask why she was dressing nicer, curling her hair, spritzing perfume before leaving the house like we were in year one again. I played the part. I told her I had a work deadline and started staying up in the guest room. She didn't fight it. She barely blinked. I think she was relieved. And that's when I planted the camera. Nothing fancy, just a basic motion sensor one I picked up online, the kind used for baby monitors or checking on pets while you're away. I mounted it behind the bookshelf in her office, hidden between some books she never touched, business strategy manuals she bought to look the part. It gave me a full view of her desk, her chair, and the couch where she took her client calls. The first night, nothing happened. The second night, she fell asleep in the chair, scrolling something on her phone, laughing once, softly. The third night, she brought him in. He didn't stay long. 10, maybe 15 minutes. But that was enough. Enough to see her sit on his lap. Enough to hear her tell him I was emotionally distant and basically checked out. Enough to hear her whisper that she was almost ready. That he'd be fine. He always lands on his feet. That line hit different. I've landed on my feet a lot in life. When my dad died. When I lost my first job. When we miscarried. I was the one who picked us up. I was the one who cleaned the bathroom floor while she sobbed into the bath mat. I was the one who held her at 3 a.m. when she said she couldn't bear the quiet. But now she said it like I was some boring house cat. Like I'd be okay being replaced. Like I was designed for background noise. After he left, she stayed in the room a long time, staring at nothing. Then she opened her laptop and started writing something. I couldn't read the screen. Resolution wasn't strong enough, but I recognized the tabs, flight websites. Airbnb. She clicked a folder titled Q4 Reset and dragged in a PDF. Her passport scan. Then one labeled Shared Itinerary. It was happening. It wasn't just flirting or emotional affair territory anymore. This was a blueprint. An escape plan. And I had 4 days left. I didn't sleep. Didn't eat right. I drank too much coffee. My hands started to tremble even when I was still. But I wasn't spiraling. I was sharpening. Focused. Every minute I pretended to be clueless bought me another inch of clarity. The next morning, I booked a hotel under her name in a town 4 hours away. Just for one night. Just one room. Then I forwarded the confirmation to her work email. No subject. No message. Just the receipt. A test. She came home early that night. Smiling. Hair down. Jacket off her shoulders before she even stepped in the door. You're in a good mood, I said flatly. She blinked. Too quickly. It was just a good day. But I saw it in her eyes. She thought he'd sent the room. That this was part of their plan. That the trap was tightening and all she had to do was step in. And that's exactly what I wanted. 2 days before the gala, her voice started changing. Not the tone, the timing. Shorter answers. Forced calm. Like someone trying not to spill a secret while holding a glass that's already cracked. I'd ask simple questions like, will you be back for dinner? And she'd pause, blink too slowly, then say something vague like, I'll try, but things are really piling up at the office. She was folding herself into excuses so sloppily I wondered if she even cared whether I believed her. She didn't know that I'd already called her office. Posed as a vendor. The receptionist, same bubbly woman from the lobby, casually mentioned that Amara had taken personal leave for a few days starting tomorrow. She said it like it was nothing. Just a heads up. So, my wife had the next 3 days off. Yet she told me she'd be working late. I didn't get mad. I started smiling to myself. There's something strange that happens when someone betrays you so thoroughly, so cleanly, that you begin to feel like you're floating above your own life. You start narrating everything in your head like you're watching it from a distance. She was no longer Amara, my wife. She was Amara, the character, the protagonist of her own story. A story I wasn't part of anymore. And every protagonist needs a fall. That night she asked me if I still planned to attend the gala with her. I told her I hadn't decided yet. She hesitated for half a second, just half, before saying, "You should come. It'll be fun. Big donors this year, big names." I asked, "Will Desmond be there?" She blinked again. This time, the pause was longer. "Why would he be?" she said, trying to play confused. I shrugged. "You've mentioned him before. Just curious." She laughed, but it was empty. "I barely talked to that guy. Interesting. He was in our house 4 days ago." The camera had caught them again, this time in a whisper argument. She was telling him something about "not yet," and he was saying he was sick of being the side character. Then they kissed, and he left. It was the kind of kiss you don't give someone you barely talk to. The closer the gala got, the more things started unraveling. She became clumsy with her lies. She left her iPad unlocked on the kitchen counter, something she never did. I didn't even need to dig. Notifications from a text app one didn't recognize popped up one after another. He's totally unaware. 2 more days. I can't believe this. Soon, I'm yours. One message stopped me cold. He's quiet lately. It's starting to freak me out. That was me. Quiet. Watching. Calculating. She was right to be freaked out. She just didn't know what was coming. The day before the gala, I took the afternoon off work and drove 2 hours out of town. Not to escape. To deliver something. A letter. Addressed and sealed. Handwritten in plain ink on plain paper. Just facts. Names. Dates. Screenshots printed in black and white. Timestamps. Hotel confirmations. And a photo from the camera, just one, of Desmond and Amara. Faces close. Hands very much where they shouldn't be. I dropped it in a private mailbox outside a small brick house with a blue door and wind chimes. According to the public property records, that's where Desmond's wife lived. Her name was Dana, a schoolteacher. 2 kids under 10. I had no intention of speaking to her. She deserved better than a confrontation. She deserved the truth in a way she could process it alone. But I wasn't finished. That night, I logged into our joint travel rewards account. It was under my email, but she used it constantly, for work trips, gifts, even booking a massage once when she said she was at a board meeting. I checked the recent activity. Sure enough, a flight had been booked that morning. 2 tickets. One way. Turks and Caicos. Departure, the morning after the gala. So that was the plan. They weren't just sneaking around. They were leaving. Like it was a heist. Like I was some clueless doorman who'd wave goodbye while they rode off into their new life in business class. Only they weren't ready for what I had planned at that gala. Because the suit I laid out wasn't just for show. The calm I wore on my face wasn't just for survival. It was camouflage. The same way she had lied, kissed, and packed a second passport. I was ready to play my role to the bitter end. Except in my version, she wouldn't just lose me. She'd lose everything she thought she controlled. The ballroom smelled like money and sugar-coated hypocrisy. Crystal chandeliers, tiny gold forks, drinks with herbs floating in them just to make them cost more. I arrived alone, 10 minutes early, and made sure to take the long way in. I wanted time to breathe, to see, to watch her before she knew I was watching. She hadn't seen me yet. She was at the far end of the room, standing in a tight circle of executives, laughing too hard at something no one else found funny. She was wearing the dress she used to save for anniversaries. Backless, high-slit, emerald green. I recognized the necklace too, the one I thought she lost during our move last year. Funny how things reappear once they're meant for someone else. I made my way to the bar and ordered water. No distractions tonight. No dulling of the senses. I needed to be sharper than ever. And that's when I saw him. Desmond. Across the room. Alone. Holding a glass like he didn't know where to stand. No wedding ring. Hair perfectly styled. Looking every bit like a man who believed he deserved everything in the room, including the woman that wasn't his. I didn't approach him. Not yet. Instead, I walked to the table where the auction items were displayed and slipped an envelope under one of the framed vacation packages. Plain. Unlabeled. Sealed. I had planted 5 of them throughout the venue. Inside each, the photo, the timestamp, the screenshots. No names. Just the evidence. Just enough to cause confusion. Enough to make people look twice. At 7:41 p.m., she spotted me. I felt it before I saw it. That shift in the air. The sudden stillness in her laughter. The way her body turned slightly away from the group, shoulders stiffening. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I just walked toward her like I was supposed to be there. Because I was. She met me halfway with a performance-grade smile. "You came," she said, reaching for my hand. "I wasn't sure you would." I leaned in, kissed her cheek like a stranger would, and said, "I couldn't miss the final act." She blinked, confused, but I was already walking past her. She followed me, placing her hand gently on my forearm. "Curtis," she said, voice soft, "is everything okay?" I turned to her, just enough for her to see my eyes. "Busy day at work," I said. "You know how it is." That line landed like a brick. I knew she remembered the note I found, the one hidden in her shoe. "Pretend for now." She nodded, slowly. "Right. Busy." As she turned to grab champagne from a tray, I walked to the other side of the room, to a man I'd paid $200 just to wear a blue tie and call me Andrew. He didn't know who I was. He thought he was just running a soft prank for a social media bit. But I gave him a script, a fake background, and a single instruction. "Ask Desmond if he's seen Amara's husband tonight." Just to watch his face. I stood near the corner, pretending to check my phone while the decoy walked up to Desmond. Their conversation only lasted 20 seconds, but that was enough. I watched Desmond's jaw tighten, watched his eyes flick across the room like a man realizing the walls were suddenly thinner than he thought. And then he saw me. Our eyes met. Briefly. No nod. No anger. Just recognition. And one thing more, fear. He turned away almost immediately. Amara returned to my side with a drink in each hand. "To us," she said, smiling like she was still in control of the scene. I clinked her glass and drank. She leaned closer, whispering, "You look incredible tonight." I nodded. Then I said it. "Did you pack light? Or should I drop you at the airport after dessert?" Her hand froze mid-glide across my wrist. "What?" she asked, voice already cracking at the edge. I said. I smiled. "I heard the flight's early. Better get through TSA before it's crowded." Her face flushed, not with embarrassment, but something deeper. Fear. Anger. Calculation. She opened her mouth, ready to play the part again. But this time I stepped back. "Save it," I said. "Let's just enjoy the gala. You've worked hard on this lie. You should at least finish it properly." Then I turned and walked away, not leaving. Not yet. I had one more card to play. One more guest to find in the crowd. Because I hadn't come just to end things. I came to detonate the version of herself she thought was untouchable. I found Dana by the dessert table, exactly where the photographer said she'd be. She was shorter than I expected, hair tucked into a low bun, wine glass clutched like a shield. Her eyes scanned the room like she was trying to solve a puzzle without all the pieces. She hadn't seen me before tonight. I had someone else deliver the letter. But she knew who I was the second I approached. "I got it," she said without looking at me directly. "All of it. Every page." "I'm sorry," I said, and for once I meant it. She looked at me then, really looked. And not with pity, which I expected, not with rage, but with this calm, terrible sadness I wouldn't forget if I lived to 100. "Do you know how long?" she asked. I nodded. "I don't, but long enough." She sipped her wine, swallowed hard. "He left the house this morning and kissed our daughter's forehead. Said he'd be back before her spelling test tomorrow." We stood there in silence for a moment. The gala swirled around us. Laughter, clinking glasses, overpriced cheese plates. Two people in the center of a storm, invisible to everyone else. "I don't want to cause a scene," she said after a while. "But I don't want to protect him either." "You don't have to do anything," I told her. "You already won by showing up." Her hand tightened on the glass. "I didn't come to win." And then, without warning, she walked straight across the room. I followed, but stayed back just enough to let it happen. She approached Desmond while he was mid-sentence with Amara, who didn't even notice her until it was too late. Dana tapped him on the shoulder. He turned, startled, then froze. Color drained from his face like someone had unplugged him. Amara's smile vanished when she saw Dana. "Can I help?" "Why?" Dana slapped him. Not hard, not dramatic, but deliberate. Like she was punctuating the final word of a long overdue sentence. The entire table fell quiet. Conversations died like lights going out one by one. And then Dana turned to my wife. My perfect, polished, calculating wife. "You destroyed your marriage," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "And mine. I hope he was worth it." Amara couldn't speak, couldn't blink. She looked like someone who had fallen through the stage of her own performance and was just now realizing the floor beneath her wasn't real. Dana walked away, heels clicking against marble, head held high. No theatrics. No shouting, just precision devastation. The silence lingered. Then people started murmuring. I watched the ripples travel across the room. Faces turning, heads tilted, some already pulling out their phones. And there, in the middle of it all, stood Amara, stunned, red-faced, hand clutching her wine glass so tightly I thought it might crack. That's when she saw me again. She took a step toward me, lips parting as if to say my name. But I shook my head once, small, slow, and that's when it all hit her. Not just what she'd done, but how carefully I had waited to let her drown in her own story. You planned this, she said under her breath as she reached me. Her voice was shaking now, the chill finally settling in her bones. You set me up. No, I said quietly. You just gave me a better ending than I could have written myself. She blinked at me, mouth open, but the words didn't come. I loved you, Amara. I added, but not like this. Not enough to be your alibi anymore. Then I walked away, past the donors, past the whispers, past Desmond, who was now standing alone like a man waiting for a punch that had already landed. I didn't look back. Not even once. I didn't drive home right away after the gala. Instead, I parked near the lake at the edge of the city, left the car running, rolled the window down halfway. It was past midnight, and the air was the kind of cold that bites just enough to remind you you're alive. I sat there with my hands on the wheel, not moving, not thinking too much, just letting the silence settle in my bones. The truth is, I didn't feel victorious. There was no swelling music in my head. No dramatic, I showed them monologue. Just a long, quiet exhale after holding my breath for too many months in a house that stopped feeling like home the moment she looked me in the eyes and lied without blinking. What I felt was done. It wasn't anger. It wasn't heartbreak. It was release. The next morning, she called me. 5 times. I didn't answer. Then the messages started coming in. We need to talk. Please. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You're being cruel now. You're not perfect either. I deleted them without reading the rest. I wasn't trying to win a moral trophy. I just wanted to leave the arena entirely. That afternoon, I left her a note. Just 2 sentences. You don't need to explain anything. The keys are in the drawer. Please leave before Friday. I didn't stay to watch her leave. Instead, I booked a small cabin about 2 hours out in the woods. No Wi-Fi, no cell reception, just trees, air, and the strange realization that I didn't have to pretend anymore. I sat by the fire the first night, listening to it crackle like the static inside my own head finally breaking apart. I didn't cry. I didn't replay every memory. I didn't read old texts. I just sat, breathed, existed. For the first time in a long time, I liked the sound of my own silence. It took time, more time than I care to admit. But eventually, things started returning to color. I went back to hobbies I'd abandoned, reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years, picked up running again, not to punish myself, but to move forward, physically, mentally. One day, about 6 months later, I ran into Dana again, at a bookstore of all places. We didn't say much, just a knowing nod and a smile that said, we made it. She looked lighter, freer. I probably did too. Amara sent one last letter, handwritten, asking if we could talk. Said she was in therapy. Said she finally understood. I didn't reply, not because I hated her, but because I no longer needed anything from her. Not closure, not apology, not even acknowledgement. When people ask me what happened, I tell them this. My marriage didn't end at the gala. It didn't end in the lies or the affair. It ended the moment I finally stopped trying to fix what wasn't mine to heal. And the moment she reached for my hand, I leaned in and said what I should have said a long time ago. Not anymore.